And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Satellite showing a lot of moisture here that's heading right up in towards southwest Alaska, and some breaks here over the interior today on down in toward Kodiak Island, Alaska Peninsula, North Gulf Coast. This area of moisture streaming up mainly into the southern panhandle, and putting this loop into a quick motion here. You can see just how everything's kind of heading inland. And so tomorrow morning we've got a lot of IFR streaming in from the Bering Sea across Bristol Bay, Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta, into the southern Kuskokwim Valley, and then up into western Cook Inlet and the Madanuska-Susitna Valley. Some IFR here along the eastern border of the Panhandle, and marginal VFR for the eastern North Gulf Coast. And then for the afternoon time frame, areas of IFR here across southern Alaska and southern Kodiak Island with otherwise marginal VFR. Same thing here for the western interior, improving into the central part of the state, and then VFR north of the Alaska Range all the way up to the eastern Brooks Range, North Slope, central eastern Arctic coast, VFR. Panhandle improving here with VFR breaking out in many areas there, and out over the Bering Sea. Northwest part here looking pretty good, VFR and IFR there near St. George Island down to the Fox Islands, and still covering the Aleutians. And then for Monday morning, solid IFR here over most of the Bering Sea, but VFR up around St. Lawrence Island. IFR here in the central part of the state right up to the western central Arctic coast. Staying VFR over the upper Tanana Valley 40-mile country up to the Yukon Flats. Some IFR possibly getting maybe up to around Nenana and western Prince William Sound. IFR and marginal VFR for the southeast coast, and then mostly marginal VFR for the Panhandle on Monday afternoon up to the North Gulf Coast. VFR Cook Inlet into the southern Susitna Valley, most of the Kenai Peninsula, and Prince William Sound, but the Copper River Basin marginal VFR right up into the central interior, then northward on out to the Arctic coast. Good swath of VFR here from the Kobuk, or from the Selawik and Kobuk Valley areas, Kotzebue down across Norton Sound into Bristol Bay, Kodiak Island as well, and still a pretty good size area of IFR out here over the Bering Sea, now extending up to St. Lawrence Island. And for the passes, Anatuvik and Adigan, both marginal VFR for the day Sunday. And for Lake Clark and Merrill, IFR both passes there. IFR also for rainy, windy, marginal VFR. Isabel, same forecast, looking pretty marginal for that pass. And Mentasta, marginal VFR, especially on the southern approach. Tanita, starting out IFR, improving to marginal in the afternoon. And for Portage, IFR, Chilkoot and White, marginal VFR. Freezing levels about 4,000 to 6,000 feet here over the interior, and 6,000 to maybe 8,000 feet there for the Panhandle. 12,000 feet over the Aleutians, and 8,000 feet all the way up to St. Lawrence Island. Icing, areas of considerable moderate rime icing here from the Gulf of Alaska right up into the southern interior, and then northward over the west central part of the state to the Arctic coast. And for the jet stream here, upper level low at 33,000 feet pulling into the northern Kuskokwim Valley there, just east of the Yukon. And so that's pushing the jet southward here. Got this 90 to 95 knot wind flow coming down across eastern Bering Sea, then becomes westerly there, but staying south of the area, about 90 knots there for the east central Aleutians, and 3,000 feet, northwest 50 knots, eastern Bering Sea. Increasing winds here ahead of that next pretty strong low farther back to the west. Not too bad here over the interior, a little breezy, but nothing too terribly strong. And northwesterly flow for the Panhandle. 3,000 feet north, 45 knots through the Bering Strait. Wind flow coming down northwest at 40 knots for the Alaska Peninsula there. And then 45 knots here, well south even of the, just south of the Gulf of Alaska. Light winds for the Panhandle, central eastern interior to the Arctic coast. Pretty light wind conditions. Turbulence-wise, with those northerly winds out here, we've got areas of considerable moderate turbulence, Point Hope, Cape Lisburne, western Seward Peninsula, portions of the southwest interior and coast, and for the Alaska Peninsula, and a good portion of Bristol Bay.